Alright then. Hello, this is the RPG Crawler, and it is time, once again, to try to take a look at some pay-what-you-want / free role-playing games. I've actually been getting some decent responses from these, and I hope to either expand it or get back into, or use it as a launching point to get some more full role-playing game reviews out. I actually have one review type that I'm working on right now. My next full channel review is going to be Castles and Crusades. And I may actually end up doing like 2 or 3 videos on it. Probably 2 videos on it. I'm not entirely sure. Because of the way the system works with Castles and Crusades, I might break it up into each book, or I don't know. Maybe I'll just end up with one really, really long video. But this week, let's see how many offerings I have this week. I have, helps if I have the actual list open. Thirteen pay-what-you-want / free PDFs. And 2 of which are free, 1 of which is actually just a preview of a new edition of something. So we shall see how it goes. A lot of OSR stuff this week, a lot of really minor stuff this week. There wasn't a whole lot of really in-depth stuff that really caught my eye the last couple weeks. I do these, I want to say once a month, but really it just works out to whenever I have enough material to start with. So let's take a look at the first one. I think this is it. This could be wrong. This could be real wrong. In fact, I could have some issues with how this one displays. Because, let's see if I can change. Something changed with the way that they've been doing the layout here. Or it may just be the PDFs in general. Remnants of the Restless Republic. On Dead Labor and Born Again Agitators. This is a pay-what-you-want offering. And it is from Less Than Likely. It's an OSR 12-page mini-zine about the egalitarian dead. Which is... we shall see. I honestly don't even know why I picked this one. It just looked different. So, we'll see how this goes. Sorry about that. I'm having to tab between things. Let me look overall. Let me just do a quick overview. Yeah, this is a kind of like a bit of everything kind of zine. So it's not even 12 pages. Well, I guess it's 12 pages. It's just there's double ups. One of his last letters before facing the firing squad, the poet and labor agitator Joe Hill wrote, "Tomorrow I expect to take a trip to the planet Mars, and if so, will immediately commence to organize the Mars Canal workers onto the IWW." So, when is this supposed to be set? I think this is... Hey man, what's up? Glad you could join me today. This is, I think it's supposed to be something like in the 1800s, but it seems to be linked to a setting that I don't know. Either that or very generalized setting. Let me take a look at what else Less Than Likely has. Less Than Likely also has The Toad of Holding, which was a zine similar to this one, but focused all around frogs. Yeah, I do these like once a month. I do a quick look at free and pay-what-you-want role-playing games. And I started with a really weird one this week, to be quite frank. Really weird one. In the Great Disorder following the reign of the Maggot Empress, a something, cursed be her name. Yeah, I didn't censor that. That was censored in there. I think because it's supposed to be like she who shall not be named or whatever. More than one local potentate turned to necromancy as a workaround for labor shortages. So it's like 1800s where they used necromancy for cheap labor. Okay. This mini-zine assumes the standard stats for skeletons, ghouls, etc., but with reaction rolls and average morale. So basically OSR style stuff, I guess. Oh man, I can understand that. Sleep patterns all messed up. Yeah, I can totally understand that. This is going to be a mix of everything. Let's get into it. We got some like a background fiction here to let you know like what style of thing they're going for this one. Somewhere in the thin desert, halfway between the twin canals Thoth and Nepenthes, lies an ancient barrow. Its slopes are littered with bones and goat skulls. So you've got hooks and rumors. Is the Restless Republic supposed to be on Mars? Yeah, I think it's supposed to be like a Wild West kind of thing on Mars with necromancy. Okay. Odd. Is this still all intro stuff? Oh, here we go. Detention Barrow. So this is just basically your standard dungeon crawl. Here. Tiny scorpions, strength or stings for 1d6. No, this has got to be like a... What system is this for? I don't even know what system. It says it's OSR. So, saving throw or stings for 1d6. That's what it means. We're talking like real OSR stuff. I'm really scattered now. I started with the weirdest one, I think. And that was probably a mistake on my part. Okay. So you got your basic barrow crawl to start off. Could fit into it looks like it could fit into any fantasy style stuff. Oh, except here we go. Elisartes' cell. 6 ghouls. And the handsome ghoul Elassie. Elassie. So there's like a named ghoul. Only eats the rich. He takes eat the rich to like a literal level. Warns the Rebabites are murderous sectarians. So like there's sectarian violence in a crypt. Because the undead are like the labor. That's messed up, man. Her illegal pamphlet, A Watchword to the New Buried Army, is a treasure that she keeps in her stomach. Well, I don't appreciate the aesthetic of that. I do think that I'm going to start hiding treasures in undead stomachs now. Just so I can have the joy of having my players have to root through the entrails of every undead they meet. But not every undead. I'll just put it in like every 100th undead or whatever. There'll be like treasure in their stomach. The rate of restlessness and dead labor. So this is all very, very strange stuff here. It's a very strange setting. It's all background stuff. The zine is a little bit too random for me. I'm going to have to go. But before I go, let's take a look at the Born Again Agitator. It's not your revolution if you're not allowed to dance macabre. Macabre. I don't know how to pronounce that. Any armor and weapon, and this is old school style. Level saves, attacks, and hit dice as halfling. So, wow, what did halflings advance as back in the day? It's been so long I can't even remember. I think they advanced a little bit slower than fighters. Not entirely sure about that. Feeding habit. You don't have to eat and can only digest blood, brains, flesh of the living, or withered foodstuffs. So you get to randomly generate what your undead eats at the first level. Only regain hit points when leveling up or once per day feeding. So you don't get hit point through normal means. Ineffective against the dead, poisons, and sickness, so you get immune to poisonous and sickness. And you don't have to sleep, although you can. Speak with dead if they want to speak with you. So if the dead do not want to speak with you, you're just SOL. Level 2, Incite Undead. Can hold a rousing speech for a group of undead level times per day. Reactionary undead get a saving throw. This is terrible. I mean, okay. It's just, it takes the term Restless Dead to an entirely new level. And then you got random encounters for this particular setting, which is 1800s Undead as Labor. I don't know if I like that one. In fact, I'm pretty sure I don't like that one. And I actually kind of like their Toad of Holding from last time. But that was Remnants of the Restless Republic. I'm not going to get into the details because it's not worth it, because it's just your basic OSR stuff. And I will put this into chat as soon as I remember how to open chat. Give me a moment. I seem to have misplaced my channel chat. We'll get into the next one in a second. Man, Gomi, I should take a stronger look at these things before I start the stream. Because that was the weirdest one. Starting right off the bat. Pay what you want. Okay. So next, let's look at what I think is a... I think the next one is an adventure. The Hall of Valen. This one is a 4-page adventure for first-level characters. It's a first-level adventure for In Darkest Warren's Ultimate Edition by Jonathan Hicks. I do not know what that is. I honestly do not know what this is. It is from Trollish Delver Games, and here we go. Let me take a look. In Darkest Warrens is a pay-what-you-want offering that is a 3-page role-playing game, whose rules cover 2 pages, including a bestiary and introductory adventure. Okay, so this is going to be super simple stuff. I don't even know why I selected this one, except maybe I was so addled from taking a look at the last one that it kind of stuck with me. In Darkest Valen. For In Darkest Warrens. There we go. There's your first page. I hate these spreads. I don't know if it's something I changed or what. I guess that works. It's not giving me the option to change to any other layout, so I guess that's native to the PDF. Alright, the Hall of Valen is an In Darkest Warrens adventure for beginning characters. In this short adventure, the players will enter the Hall of the Valen and try to secure for themselves the treasure of the immortal Lord Valen the 22nd. Nice setup. Local will explain the history behind the hall. Local lore has it that the immortal lords were a family of chancers and con artists who managed to wrangle their way into power through lies, false promises, and deception. They were a joke of a family, squeezing as much gold as they could out of the lands for their own coffers and the benefit of the sycophants that followed them, and they lived in luxury while the peasants were ravaged by crime, plague, and anarchy, controlling the masses through fear and magic. The day they bestowed upon themselves the titles of immortal lords, the commoners had... This is another one where the commoners are uprising. Commoners should learn their place, man. Well, let's take a look at it. It's a pretty simple looking dungeon. Let's see this map. Oh joy, an elemental map. Oh, okay. Well, let's take a look. I'm not even sure I like that map. I guess it's a simple system, so it doesn't have proper battle maps or anything. It's very simplified. The four-walled hall and a mound surrounded by rubble, etc., etc. You've got a large central chamber with 6 skeleton warriors in it. Let me take a look. They're animated through water. That's interesting. When a skeleton is defeated, describe how the bones fall apart and water sprays everywhere. That's different. Or wait, the hall is on the mound. So you've got the hall, and then underneath is the tomb, and then you got those 4 rooms branching off of it, because the spiral staircase leads down to a circular room 30 feet below. That is not circular. That is not circular. That map means nothing to me. I appreciate the attempt. But this elemental right here? Yeah, that's the art's decent. I think the art is stock. Not 100%. It's illustrated by Indy Martin, copyright 2015, and J.E. Shields. So that I think that's stock. It's not bad, though. It's not bad stock. Nothing wrong with using good stock art. There is something wrong with this map, though, because it doesn't match the descriptions at all. I guess you've just got four rooms, one in each of the cardinal directions. So I mean, I kind of buy it. Like if you've only got like a 5-room dungeon, I guess 6 if you count the hall above, then there's not much of a map to make. But if your first room is described as circular and you make it a square in your map, something wrong with you. Okay, each of the rooms are square. The north room is fire. It contains 4 stone coffins. They are all empty as the Valen family never survived to use them. Each coffin has 2 ferryman's coins waiting for when they are filled. Each one is worth 5 gold. However, if just 1 coin is touched, a fire elemental leaps from the coffin and attacks the player who touched the coin. And this is... I don't know how that stacks up in the system that this is using. West room is earth. 8 coffins... They have purses filled with 10d6 gold coins on their bellies, but will not rouse if disturbed, so there's some skeleton warriors in there. The body is, however, not the threat. Anyone wishing to take a purse must make it a successful nimble test to take up each one to remove it. Failure on 1 wakes up an earth elemental. Let me guess, your east room, your air elemental, has an air elemental? An 8-foot iron golem with rubies for eyes stands at the far wall of this room, armed with a mighty axe. It is the guardian of the tomb and will attack anything that steps over the threshold of the door and onto the floor. The floor is incredibly clean, which might signify it shouldn't be touched, and a thin ledge runs about the edge, about the width of a foot. That seems like one of those details that could be missed if you describe the room in minutia. One thing I do, I run games. You know, you've seen me run like Tomb of Annihilation and stuff, and you are one of my patrons. You've seen me run other games. I also run games on IRC, or at least I used to. Not so much anymore, but I used to. And what I would do on IRC is, because it is a chat-based format, it is a text-based format, I would write these room descriptions, and I would hide details by minutia. Like, I would describe the room in detail, but only 1 or 2 of those details really mattered, and it was kind of like a puzzle for the players to figure out which of those details actually matters. So that 1 foot, that thin ledge running around the edge about the width of a foot, would be one of those details where I would go into detail on the walls and then let them figure out that ledge is what they're supposed to be doing. So if anything touches the floor, the golem attacks. This creature is possessed by an air elemental. Oh, that's kind of goofy. So it's an air elemental, but in order for it to attack, it's in an iron element, or an iron golem. South room is water. There's a chest under the water in the south room. Water elemental if it is opened up. So this is all greed-based traps. It's all like there's nothing to fight unless your greed overtakes you. And then they've got special weapons. So, it's serviceable as an idea. I don't know the system that is based on. It looks incredibly simple, though. Like, this dungeon is longer than the rules that it's meant to run with. So, take that into consideration. That was the Hall of the Valen, a pay-what-you-want offering using a pay-what-you-want minimalist role-playing game system. And I will put the link to it in the chat as soon as I, once again, remember where the chat is. Here you go. Yeah, it's all very simple stuff this week. I really should be writing my review for Castles and Crusades, but I want to get this done. I enjoy doing these enough. Oh, the next one's neat. I've actually looked at this one. The next two are actually really neat. First is a windmill full of corpses. Now, a windmill full of corpses is like a 2-page adventure for OSR stuff from Death Trap Games, as you can see. And it's one of those ones where you print the front and then the back, and then you've got like a trifold adventure thing. I used to see like professionally produced versions of those back in the old school gaming stores I used to go into. Are those still a thing? Like those Trifolds mini RPGs, or did those go the way of the dodo and just end up on online stuff? Okay. Sorry about that. Was I answering a question? Or actually, I was commenting on something. Give me a second. Excuse me while I choke to death. Okay. Anyway, yeah, I haven't set foot in an actual gaming store in years, except to pick things up and then immediately leave. And I blame that on the ones around me being kind of not really worth staying in. It's like you go in and it's nothing but like 5th edition D&D and Magic the Gathering stuff. And they've got like this tiny little section for like other role-playing games. And the clerk, when I went in there, it was like I went in there and I asked, this was actually a while back, it was a couple of years ago actually at this point. I was asking about, well, hell, I've got Dungeon Fantasy over there now. I was asking about Dungeon Fantasy and Steve Jackson Games type stuff, and to find out if they like carried it physically or if I had to order it online. And the dude didn't even know anything about role playing games. And this was a kid. It must have been his late teens or whatever. He was like, well, we got D&D, and I was like, I know you've got D&D. I see it on every freaking shelf. Do you have any? Do you have X role playing game? No, sir. We have D&D, and I was like, oh my god. No wonder I only order stuff from Amazon anymore. Support your local game store. I guess if you like them, but this one deserves to go out of business, man. Anyway, sorry about that rant. Since it was first built, the people of Manichea have disliked the windmill. Sure, the average laborer didn't have to grind his own flour, but the fees for that convenience, it was too many. Another way for their... Hold on. I misread that. I totally misread that. It was, to many, another way for their greedy baron to take a little more, and Cleric the miller, well, he is a strange one, a great brute with sad eyes and little to say. He was best left alone with his devilish machine. When a Decapus chose to nest in the mill, no one missed Cleric. The creature now nurses a brood of horrors, guarded by a web of illusions designed to play on the local ill feelings towards the mill. Now the Decapus's spawn are nearly ready to leave the nest and feed on the people of Manichea. What's a Decapus is... I know it's a 10-tentacled creature from like RPG history, but I don't actually remember ever using one. Is it AD&D? It's got to be like what, Monster Manual 2 or something? It can't be Monster Manual 1. This is where I actually looked the thing up, man. A Decapus. Maybe it's in Fiend Folio. Well, it's not in here. Is it in Fiend Folio? Watch, if it's not in here, I'm just going to give up and look it up. A Decapus. I mean, this is presuming that you know... I'm assuming that this is a Decapus right here. I know I've seen that before. It's from basic D&D. Okay. Not Rules Cyclopedia, right? I mean, it's got the stats. I can look at it, right? No, it doesn't have the stats. It's got Decapus spawn. There you go. It's got the stats. Yeah, okay, Rules Cyclopedia. I'll take a look. I'm sorry, I got to refresh my memory on this because I've never used one. So I have no idea, and it irks me when I see a monster that I know, but I don't know because I never used one. Decapus, and thanks for the tip there. Palace of the Silver Princess. I remember that. I never played that one. It is not in Rules Cyclopedia either. So it's probably, like, do I want to spend more time looking through this? If it's in here, I'm going to laugh. Is it? The world shall never know because that particular page is stuck together. Oh, it is in here. Yeah, Decapus, land and marine. And these foul creatures are usually found in forests. They look like bloated, 4-foot wide, hairy globes from which sprout 10 long tentacles. The hair is usually brown, sometimes black, and the body is often green, although purple or yellow examples have been found. In the center of the Decapus's body is its mouth, which is terrible to behold. And I will show the art. I don't know if I can show the art. I don't have the. I can hold it up to the little camera, but then you see just a little thing. It looks much different than the one on there. I prefer the version in this particular Windmill full of things. B3 basic module. Yeah, it's also in Creature Catalog. So yeah. Okay, that is creepy. That is a little bit creepy. Now I know why I never used it. I never used it because when I was playing Beckme, I was mostly doing very standard stuff. I didn't use like the weirder stuff. But yeah, this adventure is all about a windmill in which a Decapus lives, and it is eaten the miller. That's nice. Yeah, I love some of them. I mean, I should go through them sometime. Some of them are really, really like. There's some weird first edition ones. And then there's some weird basic ones. And the first edition ones, for the most part, went on to become classics. And then the basic D&D weird stuff, kind of some of them became classics and then some of them didn't. You know, it was like a more hit or miss than the first edition stuff. I need to do that sometime. Just go back and look at like monsters, like forgotten monsters. And hey, thanks for joining us. Yeah, I'm going to move on from this one pretty quick. This is a windmill full of corpses. Very, very simple. It's suitable for OSR stuff. It looks like it's got both ascending and descending AC, and it looks like it's balanced for like BX style stuff. Made with Osric. My bad. It's balanced for Osric stuff. My bad. The link is, I will post the link here shortly. A windmill full of corpses. Boom. Oh yeah. It's actually decent. I should kind of like this. If you could submit your game for review. What is it? Is a tabletop game or something? Here's my review process. If it's got like redeeming qualities, and I do tabletop and I do computer games. If it's got redeeming qualities, I'll do like a proper review and come forward for it, even on tabletop stuff. And I will like give very constructive criticism on, or at least I try to give constructive criticism on like editing and balance and that kind of thing. I'm not a big fan of giving criticism on balance because, quite frankly, I don't enjoy balanced stuff. So there is that. But on like the writing and the thing is put together and whether it's a good idea, sure, I'll do that. You can contact me at rpgcrawler@gmail.com. rpgcrawler@gmail.com, and I'll see what I can do. I do have a little bit of a turnaround time on this because I've got myself stacked up with all kinds of stuff. But yeah, you can shoot it to me. And if it's I gotta warn you, if it's terrible, like completely terrible, I probably just won't cover it because I don't enjoy tearing things apart. But if I can give like some constructive criticism or something, I'll be more than happy to. You can look back through some of my older reviews. There was some stuff on there that was like barely, but that I covered, but I try to be constructive on it. But yeah, I mean, keep in mind my tastes are kind of simple, so when I say if it's terrible, I mean more if it's like if I can barely understand it, that kind of thing. So let's take a look at the next offering. Bones and Precious Stones, another pay what you want offering, and this is from Death Trap Games, which is the same people that did the... No, it's not. Wait a minute. I have messed up. No. Bones and Precious Stones is from Spaghetti Quester. There we go. An old school system agnostic dungeon set in a particular campaign world. Set in the Pentolian Catacombs, originally created by Michael Lombardi and the author here for Beneath the Canals mini-zine. So let's see what this is. It looks like it's a 3-page dungeon. I'll say right off the bat, I love isometric maps, but this one seems to do the tilt thing where it starts to tilt more and more when it goes down. I like the hand-drawn nature of it. I like the layout. I think why I like the layout most on this is because you can tell it's multi-level, because it's got like sloping corridors. And I know that's a slope because this one has a downward spiral thing and this one passes it up. So that's neat. Alright, let's take a look. Very basic, very random dungeon. You've got 3d6 carbuncles. You've got a wide lion man fountain spits water from... Okay, that's just... drinking from it to gain courage and calm for 1d10 minutes. Drinking again the same day will make you a coward for 1d4 hours. So you can... I guess... calm yourself? It depends. As far as you're new to OSR, I heard D&D used to be more of a sandbox, and the DM used to use random tables to generate the overworld. Yeah, it was more of a sandbox, but it was mostly the campaign style, you know. Whether it was mostly dungeons or not is open for debate. Like originally, it was literally just a dungeon under a keep, but it was yeah. According to it all depends on the DM. As far as the old school stuff, you can look back. I've got the my D&D retrospective on my channel. It's not great. It was done years ago, but one of the things I talked about there was the OSR. Chainmail and Braunstein, I believe. What it was like a war game, because at that time they were war games. There was no role playing. It was like the war games, and then the whole dungeon crawling part was in order to delve under the tower or the keep of a lord that was in the war game, and that's where it kind of came from. And as a result, the early D&D games were mostly the idea was to randomly generate a scenario, but even then, even like in the original Little Brown Books, the original white box, it said that you can design the dungeon however you want. But as far as sandboxy, I want to say yes. It used to be more sandboxy simply because that was a style at the time. Nothing super changed over it, and you can still run sandbox stuff with the modern stuff. It's just that kind of phased out of style to more story-driven stuff. I personally like sandboxes with a story, and I do that. I try to do that more often. In fact, my Tuesday game, the one that was Tomb of Annihilation, has segued into a more old-school style sandboxed campaign, but using the 5th edition rules. I will try to put some of that up sometime. Probably not immediately, but it's more of an open, you can do what you want style thing, and you can run that perfectly well with the new rules. Anyway, back to this one. This is the kind. Just to point out here, this how they've. Excuse me, I'm sitting on a mouse here. How they've got each individual room laid out here. Like here we go. Let's take an individual room. This is how you used to set things up on your home type dungeons, and how I still do from time to time. That one particularly says you got like a room name, a very brief description, a bedroll torn and scattered, a beautiful sword carelessly dropped. And then you've got more detailed descriptions. And then you've got the room contents. So like say down here you've got a room that is a hallway lined with urns, and then the urns themselves are randomized. So you've got 3d6 urns, and within each one, or what each one is made of is also randomly determined. And then in rooms with like a monster in them, let's see one with a monster. Well, I guess this first one. No, that's carbuncle eggs. Is there a monster in any of these? Give me a second. I'm trying to read all of these. Is there a... Oh, okay, here we go. Here's one. Invaded tomb. 2d4 corpuscent soldiers guard 1d4 honeypots. So you'd have like a description of what's in the room, and then you'd have like any details that need to be done afterwards. As far as a product that helps me come up with my own world, at this point it's all like 90% of it is just me regurgitating things that I've seen. I take a lot of inspiration from other things. However, if you want a product that will help you come up with like that'll give inspiration, Tome of Adventure Design, and I've got a review of this one up on my channel. Tome of Adventure Design, it is just nothing. It's got tables for every part of the world. It's an excellent resource. I highly recommend it. Other than that, if you don't want to buy that, because that is mostly like an idea book. It's like nothing but ideas. Almost nothing in the way of stats. There's got a few things in the way of stats, but mostly ideas. Other than that, any Dungeon Master guide for the systems that you're using is good. I will say that if you want one that gives you like in-depth talk about like world building, one that I found actually really impressive was Castle Keeper's Guide for Castles and Crusades. And I'm going to cover Castles and Crusades soon. I know I mentioned it earlier in the stream. This is got a lot of world building stuff in it. It includes some tables, but it's mostly like descriptions of things that you would like never think about if you're designing a world. And I really appreciate that. Other than that, if you want a free product, yeah, Castle Keeper's Guide is neat, but Castle Keeper's Guide, keep in mind, because it is a Dungeon Master Guide style thing for a particular set of rules, it is more geared towards Castles and Crusades. So like half the stuff in it is going to be for Castles and Crusades. Other than that, maybe Osric. Osric has some tips and tricks in it too, and it's free. Osric you can get online. Knights-Knaves.com, or did they change the URL for that? I know you can pick it up from DriveThruRPG for free, but that one just has mostly like rewritten stuff that's basically versions of the old school D&D information. But yeah, when you're doing like a sandbox style dungeon, all you really need is this kind of description, where you've got a short description, a list of what's in it, and then a list of what happens in that thing. And if you're feeling really nice, guides to where each of the individual tunnels go. I think in terms of bones and precious stones, I'm going to say this. I like the artwork. I like the map. The dungeon's kind of random. Anyone can really do the dungeon. But for a pay-what-you-want product, it's decent. I'll go ahead and pop a link to that. And we will move on. A lot of OSR stuff this week. I mean, I'm not complaining. I'm the one that assembled the list. I like OSR stuff, but next one looks like it's OSR alternative classes. This one doesn't have any art. I don't think it's got any art. Let me take a look. I'm not seeing any art. Is this art? Oh, wait. There was art. Okay. Art such as it is. Okay, very, like, minimal. Like, they got one piece of artwork. Okay. So, OSR Alternative Classes is a pay-what-you-want product from Third Kingdom Games. And what it includes is a list of alternate classes for the 4 base human classes in OSR-style fantasy role-playing games. It is written for Necrotic Gnomes Old School Essentials, but can be used with Labyrinth Forward or other BX-compatible games. So, I guess it's going to be like your you know how Pathfinder has like alt classes in Archetypes? I guess this is kind of similar. It will be updated as classes are added. So if you've got, if you've purchased or if you've got it through Pay What You Want, I guess it'll update it. I have made several changes to the level advancement tables, and chiefly THAC0 and saving throw tables have been smoothed out so that each category increases in increments on 1 as opposed to jumps of 2 or more. Yeah, that was a problem with first edition AD&D. You had some where it would like stay like the fighter table especially. It would stay like 1 number for 2 levels and then jump down 2, which is second edition smoothed that out. Yeah, I love the rules light stuff. Okay, alternate for a cleric. This has a 1d6 wisdom prime requisite, max level 14, standard BX style stuff. This is designed for their campaign name. Their campaign. I don't know how to read the attack table because I'm not familiar with the old school essentials. I'm still reading through that right now. This looks like pretty standard stuff for a cleric. The XP table has been smoothed out, although I think that may be native to old school essentials. A lot of background stuff. Clerics in Absalom can wear any armor, carry shields, and are somewhat limited in their selection of weapons. At creation, pick 3 weapon types the character can use: sword, dagger, and short bow, for instance. So you get 3 weapons rather than just bludgeoning weapons. At 5th, 9th, and 13th level, the character can select an additional type of weapon. Any cleric can request a miracle from their god, albeit with a small chance of success. So they can request a wish spell with a 1% chance of getting it. Starting at 2nd level, when a cleric kills an enemy with a physical attack, they may attack another enemy within striking distance. So this is more like a war cleric. They don't get turning. Or do they have turning? Yeah, they have turning. But no, it doesn't say they have turning. So they reprinted the turning label, the turning thing, but it doesn't say that they can actually turn undead in this description. That's odd. That's very odd. Gives you Stronghold at 9th level, and Potion Creation at 5th, and Item Creation at 9th. Pretty standard OSR stuff. Except it looks like they traded in turning for a wish casting thing and then never actually fixed the turning thing. Odd. Alright. Alternate rules. If playing with skills, clerics begin with 2 skills. If playing with max, character may... I don't know what those are. Those are OSR essential stuff. Blessed by the gods. Character saving throws improved by 1 each. This may only... Oh, this is alternate rules. So you can choose these instead of the knacks that are given in whatever system it is. Divine Grace. So this is like archetype stuff from like Pathfinder and such, except in an OSR style thing. It's not too bad. Heresy. The character may add 1 spell from another list to their spell list. That could be super abusable. Improved turning on a class that didn't list turning. Let's move on to the next one. I think this is all going to be similar stuff like this. Let's see how they redo the fighter. The fighter, 1d8's all, any including shields, any weapons. That's all core OSR mechanic stuff. You get a bonus to damage, which some OSR games do. At first level, they can fight with any weapons used any arm. They deal an extra 1 point of damage with any physical attack they make. This damage increases to +2 at 5th level, +3 at 9th, and +4 at 13th. In like a strict OSR game, +4 damage is actually serious. But at 13th level, I guess it has to be, you know? Because in those sorts of games, if you haven't played a lot of OSR, a lot of times when I do a review of them, I'll mention the scaling mechanic, and it's always like +1 to +3, although sometimes it goes up to +4 and sometimes it stops at +2. But that makes a difference, because in those games, there's usually not a lot of damage bonuses you can get. So if you got a sword that does like 1d8 damage or 1d6 damage a lot of times, and you're doing +4 damage, that's like a +50% damage mod. Like, in a system where you're not getting any other mods, that actually is pretty serious. That's a pretty serious benefit. Mind you, compared to a wizard that can then blow everything away with a 66 fireball, it kind of lacks, but there is balance in that too. Sort of. Alright, fighters begin play. Oh, so this gives like fighting styles to OSR fighters. Dual weapon, one weapon, ranged, and sword and shield. That looks like it's ripped completely out of 5th edition style stuff. And a lot of the stuff, well, I don't say a lot of stuff. The dual weapon fighting is always like a sticking point in OSR games. Because of what I just mentioned, where you don't have a lot of damage adjustment in OSR style games, having a second attack really can be really overpowering. So a lot of OSR games, like, well, not a lot of them, but like about half of the OSR games I've read don't even let you dual wield, or if they do, it ends up being like a bonus rather than a separate attack. Optional rules. The following optional rules can be used for the fighter class. You know how to use 3 combat maneuvers from the list. I'm not sure I like this alternative class thing, and I'll tell you why. It takes OSR systems, which are incredibly simple, and just turns it into a modern system and adds all kinds of abilities you need to keep track of. Like, there's level progression like for feats in here. What does a magic user get? Magic users usually get like almost nothing. This is just magic user stuff. Spellbook, limited weapons. Although in Absalom they can get multiple spellbooks. In fact, in Absalom, which is the setting this is designed for, they get an entire research library. Actually, a thought occurred to me today is that you end up with a library in 2nd edition if you're playing a wizard, because if you're following the rules in 2nd edition and 3rd edition type stuff, if you're following the rules, spellbooks can only hold so many like pages, so you end up with like an encyclopedia volume of spellbooks by high levels if you're playing, you know, as written in those systems. OSR, not so much. But I like using that spell books can only hold X number of pages kind of thing. Yeah, I think I'm gonna skip the rest of this. Well, let me take a look, see if there's any like really standout alternate classes, because this looks like it's all just adding additional stuff to make old school classes feel like new school material. This is just adding like 5th edition style progression to it. What is a dervish? So a dervish is kind of an alternate cleric. Okay. Yeah, not a big fan of this one, but I can see if you're using old school essentials where it could be neat. So I will put the link in. This is OSR alternate classes. It is a pay what you want product. And it successfully takes rules light games and makes them no longer rules light, which is kind of defeating the purpose. Dark Necessities. This one is a short game about vampires. Let's see. I don't know, did I look through this one? Yeah, I did. Dark Necessities, a rules light vampire game. This is a short game about vampires and other creatures of the night giving into their inner beast in order to gain its powers. It is designed to be printed on an A5 booklet with a character sheet on the front and the GM section in the back. It was mostly inspired by Cthulhu Dark and Lasers and Feelings. It is a 4-page role-playing game. So let us look at these 4 pages. And who's it by? It is by Arctos Tideborn. And it is actually free, not a pay-what-you-want offering. It is free. Which I should hope so, looking at it. Let's take a look at this. There's your character sheet. You can tell a lot about a game from the character sheet. For instance, the upper half is completely devoted to notes. I'm not sure what that says about the game from the character sheet, but we shall go. To create a creature of the night, you need to do the following: a name, a profession, and an initial dark power. When doing something risky or uncertain, roll 1d6, plus 1d6 if the action falls under your expertise, under your profession, plus 1d6 if your dark power aids you, plus 1d6 if you are risking your humanity. If the highest die is 6, it's a full success. 4 to 5, it's a partial success. 1, 2, or 3, you fail or succeed at great cost. Critical success, if you roll more than 1/6, you also get an additional advantage. If the dark die, that's the last 2, where you use your dark power or risk your humanity, shows 1, make immediately make a darkness roll, which is listed below. Helping. Anyone can help before a roll has been made. Original roller gets up to plus 1d6. Any helper rolls 1d6. On a 4+, he helps successfully. Unless helper rolled a 6, he is subjected to any consequences of the roll. Okay, so they've got an assist person, like an assist move, which is not something you see in these short games. Your darkness score starts at 2. If it reaches 6, you have lost yourself to it and no longer control your character. And narrate his final conscious moments before the GM takes him. Higher darkness score means you're stronger, but also means worse consequences when you lose a roll. As your DS increases, you gain access to more of your powers, and your current ones become more powerful. You start with 1 and unlock more at 3 and 5. A power can make some existing actions easier and give access to otherwise impossible. When a dark die shows 1, immediately roll 1d6 and compare it to your current dark score. If it's higher, then you fail to resist your inner beast. Increase your dark skull and complicate things by losing control. The higher your DS, the worse the complication. However, if you have to roll higher than your current dark score, then the more you lose control, the harder it is to fail that too. Because that's the way dice work. When you commit acts of darkness to fulfill your inner desires, you increase your dark score. Like, just no check, you just do it. When you deny your dark desires for a reasonable amount of time, you may lower your dark score. So that's all up to the DM. And they just give examples of professions and examples of dark powers. When you are unsure, uncomfortable, or just don't agree about something, discuss openly at the table. It's a good idea to use a safety tool like the X card. I use a safety tool called Not Being an Asshole. And how that works is that when someone says, I'm uncomfortable with this, you say, okay. And then you either, avoid it or gloss over things. If you feel the need to put a formalized system together to avoid that kind of thing, then you're probably playing with the wrong group. That's all I can say. That's why I always felt a little uncomfortable about that. It's like, I'm not going to knock them. I know why they exist. But I feel like if I'm in a group and somebody is... I feel like that's the kind of system that you'd want at a completely pick-up game with random people. Yeah, Yeah, it's odd. Like I can see why. I can see why an X card system might be useful if you were playing with a group of complete strangers. But like if I'm putting together a group and you need something like that, where either you as a player feel like the DM is pushing your boundaries, or you as a DM feel the need to do that, or if another player is doing it, then there's obviously something going on in there that is more than that should take some discussion beyond the overall, the overall structure of the group. I play with people that have their hard limits on certain topics. Like if you even mention it, they're out. They're out the door. And I respect that, and I take the moment to I take the time to get to know my players enough that just doesn't become an issue with me, because I just don't do it. So, but I can understand how if you don't know your group well, I can see that system. Anyway, there's my rant for that. How convenient I am a vampire. Players can leave their second and third powers unset and make them up on the spot during play. That's actually not bad. That's I do like that. That gives a little bit of customization. This is a very, very simple system. It's just 1d6. Each character may have some weakness. These may affect interactions, consequences, riskiness of actions, etc. I haven't seen a health system so far. I've only seen like a darkness system. So there's no health system in this. And these are just simple guidelines on creatures that the people can come up with. This is actually not a bad system. Oh yeah, God, man, the Grim Fortune Citadel. Yeah. Some of the stuff I run is, and what's funny is it's not even like anything that you'd normally think is what's the term that kids use nowadays? Problematic. Yeah, it's nothing like that. It's just like if some of the people like out there ran in some of my games, they would not encounter situations they would be uncomfortable with. They would simply be uncomfortable. Because that is a pretty brutal type of game, man. Anyway, that I just covered was Dark Necessities. It was actually really neat. I actually do not mind it for a quick game. It is free. It is available on RPG on Drive-Thru RPG. Let's see about the next one, shall we? Let's see about the next one. Necrovon. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Necrovon Into the Beyond. It is from Walter Licinio. It is a tabletop role-playing game made by Walter Licinio and Erica Antunes. They are a couple. It was developed as a supplemental product for Electric Bastion Land, but can be easily adapted to suit your own tabletop RPG world. Now, I have not read through Electric Bastion Land, but I covered like an expansion for it. I think maybe even in my last quick look. And I remember it being super weird and not quite getting it. So with that in mind, let's see how this goes. Now, I do love the cover art there. Just an eye in the bottom of a pit. Yeah, whoever did that cover art, kudos on you. I can tell you right off the bat, it's easier to read than the one I read for the Electric Bastion Land one. I gotta admit, I'm not a fan of the Electric Bastion Land stuff. It was just too surreal for me. This game is a result of the cooperative efforts of husband and wife Walter Licinio and Erica Antunes, and I know I'm not pronouncing that right, in creating a game for itch.io's Eclectic Bastion Jam. Now, itch.io I mostly know from my Indie Game Friday computer reviews or computer game reviews. But apparently they're doing like board games and tabletop games now too. I might have to check that section out. I may have to start covering that if they're any good. It was a great opportunity to create a product that was focused on explaining concepts succinctly, generating fast ideas, and leaving enough space open for interpretation of the conductor and their players. The only canonic lore is the one that emerges with you playing at your table. Alright, so the Necrovon Academy. What is the Necrovon Academy? So it's a Lovecraftian horror theme in addition to the Electric Bastion Land. So we got... Whoops. Let me go back down here. You create your character in Necrovon. 3d6 for strength, dexterity, and charisma. 1d6 for hit points. 1d6 for starting pounds. 1d6 for failed career. So everybody's a failed career. One player acts as the conductor who runs things. When making a risky action, the conductor may ask a player for a saving throw. D20 equal or under the proper ability score, so stat-based savings throws. Weapons deal the damage listed next to their name. Damage is dealt directly to the hit points of your target after you subtract the armor value. So armor as damage reduction. I like those systems. I've played a few like them. The Necrovon Otherworldly Academy exists in a bureaucratic limbo between a research facility, an investigation agency, and an elite university. Oh, okay. Everything is empirically verifiable. Science will solve the world's problems, and nothing is out of knowledge's grasp. Combine that with a Mythos-style universe, and you can see where that's going. Everyone in Necrovon is linked by the same urge to discover, experiment, and explore. Necrovon has portals to the beyond, a place that connects the material world to the realms from beyond. Eventually, supernatural entities escape from the beyond and delve into urban terrain. Alright. Tuition into the academy is probably the highest anywhere. For this reason, students must frequently make expeditions to the beyond to get relics that they are accepted as payment. So they jack up the tuition so bad that these students have to risk their life facing otherworldly horrors in a supernatural realm in order to pay their tuition. Alright. Aside from that, what do we got here? Spectral field researcher. What was your thesis? I guess these are classes. What? How does this work? Hold on. Roll 1d6 for hit point, hit protection, and 1d6 for starting pounds. So when you roll it, you look up what happened, and like your starting stats determine your background. Odd. Ectoregulator diplomat. You are responsible for keeping the peace between organic beings and ectoplasmic entities. Your department was judge, jury, and executioner. You lost your job when a case took unforeseen proportions. Fluidologist. I don't know if I want to know what that is. You are the one they called when some different kind of fluidic substance was found in an occult scene. You managed to grab some strange flasks before being terminated from the academy. You're equally well suited in the lab coat and the trench coat. So this scientist, quote unquote, specializes in miscellaneous fluids left behind. Mathemolinguist. You were tasked to decipher the ancient languages and symbolic systems. Most of the time, you juggled with random meanings in between the semiotic pandemonium. All of a sudden, it all made sense. And that's why you lost your job, because you actually made sense of it. Odd. I kind of dig this, but at the same time, I'm not a big fan of the system it's based on, so there is that. Synthetic cryptid. You were created to infiltrate another domain of reality, mimicking their life forms. You are an almost perfect copy of a real cryptid. Unfortunately, your only flaw got you discarded. So you're like... a synthetic celestial, lycanthrope, vampire, demon, machine, or ghost. How can it be a... You're technically a robot, but you have a brain. How do you fail to make a machine? What the... Academy Pariah. You joined the Academy to try and find the answers to the ultimate questions. Your curiosity and methods drew unwanted attention. They made sure you got expelled and never graduated. It's got antagonists. Phobos, physical manifestations of fears and traumas. Lost dog, a mix of a bear and a wolf. Resentful for being abandoned. I like these ideas. Like, in general, I like the ideas in this. I'm going to wrap it up here. Let's take a look at some of these relics. Whip of the Mad Clown. Unawkward boots. Anyone wearing these may walk freely amongst all society classes, emanating the proper etiquette for the occasion. Celestial Halo. Direct line. An antique telephone with a direct line to the beyond. Each day has 1/4 chance of someone or something picking up. That's kind of creepy. Continuum Zweihander. This two-handed sword has a ghost blade that shifts through different time spaces in a procedural iridescent color pattern. It cuts through living beings, ghosts, and temporal anomalies with the same ease. Whenever used, it has a 1 to 6 chance to send the wielder to a different timeline. That's risky. Honk of Belial. What is it, like a horn? Except like an actual, like, honking horn. Lycanthropic fur. Anyone wearing this will be mistaken for a dog. Talking dissipates the illusion, and those confused will be asking themselves, how did they think that was possibly a dog? That's actually a neat idea. I need to make an item like that for some of my games. Chthonic sphere made of solidified insanity. Each time you use it, grows a tentacle which you do not control. At 4 tentacles, it becomes a sentient being which will drag you to the beyond. So you can only use that spear 4 times. And then, well, 3 times. And then the 4th time, you're gone. Alright. Again, not a big fan of what is based on, but that was some pretty interesting stuff. Necrovon is a pay-what-you-want module, and I will link it in the chat. So we are past the halfway point. Next one is a simple RPG, like a 2-page RPG, called For Her Elegance, in which you guard a princess. A mini role-playing game for 3 to 6 players and 1 game master. And it's like 3 pages long, one of which is the freaking title page. And one of which is this. There are some simple truths that everyone knows in this world. The sun rises each day, the sky is blue, and the princess is perfection. With wit, talent, and grace, the princess seems truly infallible. Her people love her and have never seen her in a negative light. So this is basically Simp, the RPG. The princess is so perfect because she never allows a mistake to be made. Behind closed doors, every action she makes is cold, calculated, and brutal. She will do whatever it takes to succeed, and you are her method of execution. Yeah, it's Simp, the role-playing game. Okay, each player choose a role in the princess's cabal. The advisor, the assassin, the servant, the knight, the spymaster, and the brigand. A game of For Her Elegance takes place over a single day, split into 3 rounds, morning, afternoon, and evening. During each round, players must complete the princess's orders decreed by the game master, 1 order per player. These orders can be anything from steal a Fabergé egg from the Duchess to ensure my rival never makes it to the royal ball, or anything in between. Deed roll. I don't even know if I want to know the concept of this game alone is hilarious. I love it. Deed roll. Trait number plus the number of precautions equals reputation loss. 0 or lower means no reputation is lost. After the orders are received, 1 player is selected and has 2 minutes in real life, so set a timer. So you need a dice and a timer to choose an order they will attempt to accomplish and use improv and roleplay to explain how they go about completing the order. Once they feel satisfied or the time runs out, they must commit the deed and roll a die, D6 for morning, D8 for afternoon, and D10 for evening. This is referred to as a deed roll. So because of this calculation up here, that means that later in the day that the task is attempted, the higher the chance that reputation is lost. The goal is to get as low of a number as possible, for the higher the number, the more sloppy the job was, damaging the princess's reputation. The princess has 25 points of reputation at the start of the day, losing a number of points equal to your roll's result. If that reputation runs out before the day ends, you lose. Good day, sir. But if all the orders are completed throughout the day and reputation does not run out, you win. Congratulations. To help lower the results of the deed roll, the player should use their time to come up with as many precautions as they can. For each singular precaution taken, say preparing a place to hide evidence or ensuring there are no witnesses, the deed roll's result goes down by 1. What actions count as precautions can be discussed once the deed roll is made. The Game Master will also choose what your... Whoops. My bad. The Game Master will also choose what your deed relates to based on your plan. Try to play by your roll's strengths, as the trait chosen gets separated from the deed roll as well. Silver Tongue, Sabotage, or Slaughter. Your allies may assist by providing advice and acting as assistants during the 2 minutes of roleplay. So you only get to roleplay for 2 minutes. Jesus. In 2 minutes, I can imagine like maybe one person speaking like 2 things. Your allies may assist by providing advice and acting as assistants during the 2 minutes. But it's only the acting player who can make direct precautions or contribute to the deed roll's final results. Complete your orders, loyal subjects, and remember it's for her elegance. That could be fun. That's not a long-term role-playing game, but that could be fun for like a night. Here, let me go ahead and post a link for that. It is for her elegance. It's pay what you want. And it is from the Punk Wrangler, if you're curious. All right, what is next? What is next? Somber County. Somber County's long. It's a pay what you want one. I'm not gonna do a full in-depth thing, but we will take a look at it. Somber County is a Wild West spin on the world's most popular role-playing game. Explore the somber frontier with 3 subclasses, 1800s era equipment tables, and a helping of custom feats, magic items, and variant rules to let you play the cowboy you've always wanted to be. So it's like cowboy fantasy, which is ordinarily decent. This one's 82 pages long. It's basically a 5th edition style Wild West fantasy thing, which has been real popular lately. There's been a bunch of those out lately, haven't there? Well, we'll take a look at races on the Somber Frontier, class adjustments and equipment, new class options. Looks like there's only 3 new classes. Well, they're archetypes. The Gunfighter, the Pugilist, and the Preacher, 2 of which are for fighters. A Religion, Pantheon of the Nine. Alright, so you got a complete history of it, 1,200 years ago. It's a completely fictionalized world. Okay, so 5 cities of the Empire before it fell. The Sky Cities. I have no idea. It doesn't say what they are, though. I'm kind of speed reading through this. They had some sort of spell. It was meant to make the Archmage omnipotent, which worked, and then he kind of went mad, I guess. And then things fell. Things fell apart. As you can see by this ruined castle. The caste system, although the caste system is no longer technically legal, it remains... so this is like very, very little Wild West stuff. This is like generic fantasy stuff with like a Wild West thing on it. So, see, this is a problem I have with games like this. If you're using stock art, this is a good stock art dwarf, but if you're reading the background, it's supposed to be like 1800s. So this is not an 1800s dwarf. Dragonborn, dwarf, elf. It just gives you the background of the basic races from 5th edition. but includes new creatures, the Batfolk, which is a flying creature. Class adjustments. I don't know, it lets you use Artificers if you got the Eberron version. Barbarians. Bards. Bards are supernatural casters. Replace hand crossbow proficiency with your choice of Derringer pistol. Or so it's basically you're switching out firearms for the basic equipment. Fighters get 2 martial archetypes. Arcane archers can use their stuff with firearms. Nice. That's not bad. Monks. I don't know, man. They're just mechanically identical. Paladins or divine casters, rangers or natural casters. So I guess they switched the power sources of the spells. And they buffed rangers by changing the favorite enemy, which is literally all you need in order to balance out rangers in 5th edition. Everybody says rangers are weak, but they're not half bad. All you need to do is make their favorite enemy work like it did in prior versions. Sorcerers. Yeah, I like rangers. Rangers don't get enough credit. Warlocks are divine casters in this one. All right. Let's take a look at the equipment. I'm just going to try and blow through this real quick. Ammunition. You've got various weapons or various items that just give you like the D&D item version of... I don't know what I just did there. I think I messed up. Yeah, there we go. Basically gives you what stats to look up stuff are. So you've got like the hand axe. The tomahawk becomes a hand axe. Rifle bayonet becomes a pike. So it's basically equivalencies. It's not even... like, it's not even new stuff for the most part. I guess it is. Here's all the stats for it. So they just rename a lot of weapons, it looks like. Armor and shields got new armor types. New armor types to suit the Wild West theme. Washboards. Washboards are armor. You just got to strap them on underneath whatever you're wearing. Or maybe on top. Paper money. So they do use paper money. But they also use the minted coins too. Magic wondrous item. Gatling gun is a magic item. It's basically a minigun. Potion bandolier. Whip of wrangling. This is all pretty generic stuff at this point. New class options. Okay, so you get the gunfighter, you get gunsmith, adept which lets you make and repair damaged firearms. Adept marksman, trick shots. You can learn 2 trick shots of your choice. Misfire score. This looks like an adaptation of the Pathfinder Gunslinger. Just a little bit. You do have some different things, but for the most part, this looks mostly like an adaptation of the... yeah, a lot of this is stuff from the Pathfinder Gunslinger class. Or versions thereof. Pugilists. Let's take a look. You get damage based on what you got. And this looks like a version of the Brawler class from Pathfinder. That was... I mean, it's a little bit different, but it's very much in the same vein. I was expecting more. The Preacher, a divine domain for clerics. So this is your... I guess they're mostly about peace. So you get the typical frontier preacher who's like telling people not to swear and not to get into fights and such. Impede aggressor. You can create a moment of hesitation to soften blows. When a creature that you can see within 30 feet of you rolls damage against a creature, you basically like chew them out and then they hit them for less. That is amusing. That is amusing. Divine Strike. Religion. But it uses like a... Here's the thing about this. The default setting in D&D is polytheistic. The default assumption is polytheism. And this, even though it's like an 1800s thing, is a polytheistic religion here. So I think that here's the thing about that is that if I'm writing a Western, I take a lot of inspiration from like the Southwest. And the Southwest has a lot of like preconceived notions in such a setting, and one of them is the influence of the Spanish colonists, and that does kind of change a little bit of the tone when you start introducing like multiple gods, you know, in the same pantheon. I mean, you know, I fully realize there were multiple religions in the Old West. It's just that like within the same individual pantheon, not so much, except for like the Native American ones. And reworded feats. So you got feats. They just changed the wording to make them adapt. Oh, never mind. You only got one. Okay, good. I thought this was just going to be a bunch of just reworded feats. Gunslinger Adept gives you 2 trick shots of your choice. 1 grit point. That's just ripped off of Pathfinder. Gunslingers in Pathfinder used grit to do tricks. Alright, DM's packet. I guess this is just the world introduction. Yeah. This is just like a description of the world. Yeah, I'm going to skip all this. It looks like it's written real in depth. It's got very stereotypical Western names. And then randomizations for the rest of the world since it's an unmapped world. Alright. Somber County. So yeah, this is not too bad. Variant options. Gritty combat. Just does more damage. Point blank shooting. Potion slots. Okay. Formations. What are these about? Oh, this is just giving you tips on using formations in combat to mess with your players, which is something I need to use more of. And there's just tips for running adventures on there. Yeah, I could see where a lot of this could come in useful. No, I don't want to say the changes. That was Somber County. I'm not sure how I feel about it. It is Wild Western Fantasy. I'll put the link up here. But I don't know. I don't know about that one. It seemed a little bit too much generic fantasy for me. Although the classes were a little bit too ripped off. But aside from that, it's all good. All right, let's move on to the next one. Oh, this one's going to be fun. It is another one-page story game. And I have no idea how to pronounce it. It is called Egregores. And I have no idea how to pronounce that. It is the creepypasta storytelling game. Now, I have always been a fan of like flash horror and creepypastas. So We've got... it's just a one-page game. What you see is what you get right here. Let's see if we can't fit one full page here. Okay. World rules. There are forgotten slumbering gods. There are gods in the void beyond which sleep unremembered. They stir in their strange undeath, reaching out to the world. Egregores are the gateway. Egregores are thought forms or perceptions of spirits and deities. The undead god things use them as vessels to enter the world. Memories define the past. The awakening of the gods before time and their use of egregores has altered reality. Whenever people remember what is the past now, it becomes the real history of a person and the world. To play egregores, you will need some players, these rules, some six-sided dice, something to keep notes. You are a group of friends talking about memories and experiencing horror through their consequences. One person starts with, "Do you all remember?" Then they fill in a weird or unnerving vague memory. Common examples are shadowy figures, disturbing TV or radio shows, and toys with dark overtones. That's the Lost Media style creepypasta. And that's actually kind of neat. I've never been a super good big fan of those types of creepypastas, but I guess that'd be a good starting off point for a game. The next person adds more detail or an episode of their experience with the established details. They roll dice with the oracles. Another person goes until everyone has a turn. Then they continue around. Each character has a touch counter. The whole group shares a doom counter. The oracles are dice rolls that shape and inform the story. They are based on a heavily hacked and simplified version of the Motif story engine, which I have no idea what that is. I'll have to look into it. Count the dice from left to right, so from closest to farthest. Fill in the details and complete your story entry by the results. When adding details, provide a brief intro for what you're going to share. The first die of importance has the importance of it. The second die is the costs of it. Okay, what are doom and what are touch? Because this is all just doom and touch adjustments. So it's like a you're telling the same story, like the same parts of the story in turns as you go around the way, which is a technique that I've done in writing and storytelling. But this is just basically episodic storytelling with a dice roll. When a character hits 10 touch, they die or vanish in the past. Narrate their final end. So, since this is a storytelling game and you're telling your story of your own memories, this is one of those ones where if you ever read like a really bad creepypasta and it's told from like a first person experience, and in the end they're like, "And then I died." That's what's in here. That's what happens when your touch hits there. And then I died. When Doom reaches 20, each remaining character has their final end revealed and narrated. After all characters meet their end, go around the group 2 more rounds. The first round, each player partially describes their awakened forgotten god and how it uses the created creepypasta egregore and rewritten past to emerge into the world. The second closing round, each player briefly adds a snippet about what happens to the world when the god is fully birthed into its power. So yeah, it's just a story creation game. It's not too bad. I could have gone for better, but that's not too bad. It is a pay what you want single story game, or single page game. And the link is right there. Got 3 more left. 3 more left. We will go with Pariah next. This is the art-free edition. It is 64 pages. I'm not going to go into it that much. It is old school role-playing, OSR compatible. It's a zine, but it's like a 64-page zine. And it's actually much more than that because this is like doubled up. Oh wait, never mind. It's a 64-page zine. A proto-Neolithic animist old-school sandbox role-playing game. So this is like OSR in the Neolithic. They come from hunter-gatherer tribes. It's got name generation. Hit die and health points. It doesn't look like you get classes. You do get hit dice. And it's randomly determined. So you can't pick your hit dice. It doesn't look like you have stats either. No, you do. Here you go. Constitution, strength, dexterity, intelligence, wisdom, charisma. The same basic stats. 3 to 18, 46. Drop the highest result. Oh, wow. Wait a minute. So depending on the hit dice, like when you rolled the hit dice up here that gives you your health points, that changes how you generate your attributes. So if instead of rolling your attributes and then picking a class, you roll your class and then you get your attributes rolled based on what class you get. Attribute modifiers, your standard 3 to 18 with a sliding scale instead of linear. Saving throws. You got your 5 basic saving throws, but I noticed they replaced ones with reflex. They replaced ones and staves with reflex, which I guess helps because you're not going to be facing ones and staves. Wait, no, that's breath weapon. Breath weapon becomes a reflex. Okay. Because I guess you're not going to be facing anything that breathes fire. You possess skills because... hold on a second. These look... These do look relatively primitive. Let's go through here. Yeah, your starting weapons are all old school, like Paleolithic style weapons. Blowpipes, bows, like bone swords. There's no, like, it doesn't look like there's any money because, again, this is Paleolithic, so you get, like, just additional items. And then you get the reason you are exiled from your tribe, and you're basically surviving in the world. And you create you create a band. Okay, all right. So this is how you're trying to survive. So instead of adventuring, you're basically surviving in the wilds because this is before civilization. So there's no ruins because this is before anything was built. That's not bad. It basically turns it into a massive sandbox, a massive hex crawl. But it's a hex crawl without end because there's no towns. Okay. Sorry, you can hear my voice going off again. This looks... It's got a custom combat system. What do you do in this? Let me take a look. It lets you use tactical miniatures. Excuse me. Sorry. I meant to mute myself. I didn't. My bad. D20 plus Dex mod to hit. Except instead of AC, you use attack values. Oh, that's... Okay, never mind. Alright, so it uses the one-sided combat style thing. So when the pariah makes the attack, it's just like a standard thing, D20 plus strength plus attack bonus. And then if the GM-controlled character makes the attack, then the pariah rolls D20 plus Dex mod to avoid it. Okay. It's not too bad. I'm not going to go through everything here. This is... Oh, it does have magic. 7 spiritual realms. Using a ritual magic. So you instead of being like, I cast Fireball, you do rituals and they take a long time. Okay. Alright. I can totally see where this comes from. This is very much more in-depth magic system than I thought. Entheogens facilitate magical rituals. I believe that's just... yeah, there's psychobotanicals. So your shaman out in the wilds can get hopped up on various mushrooms and then cast spells. Except they could be poisonous, so be careful. Extra planar adventures. I kind of like this. I mean, it's a little weird, but it is neat. It's not quite as gritty as I like my prehistoric role-playing games, but it is neat. And you do have monsters, some of which are from like D&D type stuff. But this is neat, and I can see why you would have like an entire band, because if you're out in the wilds trying to survive, let's face it, humans are not great at surviving in the wilds without technology. So you are going to go through characters quite a bit. It's not bad. That's from Atelier Hawaii. I'm going to link that. Pariah, pay what you want. For the art-free edition. I presume there's going to be a version with art in it. I did not see it at the time. That may just be me. Let me take a look at this. Is there a version with art in it? The next one is also... yeah, there is one with art in it. It's like $7 for the PDF, or $6.49 for the PDF. All right. No, that's not a bad system. That's not a bad system. I liked it. The next one is another prehistoric role-playing game. Yeah, I know. We're on a caveman style kick. It's called Flint, Blood, and Bone. It is only 8 pages. In this game, you play as members of an Upper Paleolithic band of hunter-gatherers. You've been inducted into a society of hunters. This is very much simplified. You get a trait, a randomized trait. You get an area of expertise, which is like fishing, tool crafting, etc. You get an edge for the entire band, which is the discovery that your band knows. So your band may have learned how to domesticate the dog or to make a harpoon. Weapons, you get like 3 types of weapons. So this is even more primitive than the last one. They got rules for tool breakage, which is good because these are all really primitive. Combat system is super simplified. It's 1d6. Even dice does damage, odd dice deals that to you. So you got a 50-50 chance of losing life. Although because the even dice do damage and the odd dice do damage to you, you actually have a slightly better chance of doing damage to your opponent because you're doing more of it. Very simple, very simple. They do have a level up system, so there is that. Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and skip this, because the rest of this is just background information and adventure hooks of things that you would encounter like in a prehistoric society. Other hunters, hyenas, mammoths, that sort of thing. Oh, and then you've got expansions. So this is not only a single. This is like the first 5 pages were the RPG. Then you've got alternate rules for Neanderthals and for Cthulhu creatures. So you can play a group of hunter-gatherers that are being corrupted by a great old one. Spirits of Horn and Bone. That looks like it's just expansion. All right. Well, that was simple enough. That was only 8 pages. That one is Flint, Blood, and Bone, another pay what you want offering. Like, I got to be honest, if I was doing a Neolithic thing, I'd probably go with Pariah over that. Just because. So we're on to the last offering of the night. And this one may be familiar to some people. It is a preview of Open Quest, 3rd edition, which is currently available on Kickstarter. Here is the link right there. And I will take that link, and I will copy that link, and I will paste it into chat right here. It is that Open Quest 3rd Edition. The Kickstarter's currently raised $9,000 of a $2,582 goal, and it has until the end of September 2020. So here is the link. Open Quest. So if you're wondering what Open Quest is, Open Quest is it's a version of a role-playing game that I should probably know more about. Uses the Legend SRD, and the Legend is a new Legend SRD is a newer version of, I believe, was it RuneQuest or the thing that RuneQuest used to use? But this is like an open standard version of it. So you've got some introductory material. You got your basic introduction to role-playing. Open Quest is a D100 system, so everything uses percentile rolls. Designed for simplicity, etc., etc. Risky and dangerous combat. 3 approaches to magic. There's battle magic, divine magic, and sorcery. Monsters have the same access to magic and skills that players' characters do, so their abilities are just as detailed and authoritative. I like that, sort of, because it makes monsters easier to balance. On the other hand, it does make them harder to design. But that's been a problem with this system since the very beginning. I've always wanted to read it and get into it. It's just I never had the chance. You do need full polyhedral dice because they do have some things that use your D8s and your D10s. Example of play. That's just in case you've never played a role-playing game. Take a look at the player characters. Character generation. You get a character concept. I don't think they have classes in this. They don't have classes in this, I don't think. I could be wrong, but I think they have skill packages. They got strength, constitution, dexterity, size, intelligence, power, and charisma. This looks like the isn't this a version of the basic fantasy game? Like the same system used in old Call of Cthulhu stuff? I'm a bit hazy on the background for the basic role-playing system. But this looks a lot like it. Maybe it's I don't know, is it a fork? Let me take a look at something real quick. Legend RPG. I'm looking at my resources real quick. Legend was RuneQuest. And RuneQuest was designed by Steve Perrin. Yes, from Chaosium, or at least it was originally from Chaosium. So it looks like it's got that same lineage that the Call of Cthulhu system and the basic role-playing system used. It was just an early fork. So that's why you may see some of the same terms. Okay. All right. Yeah, damage is based on size and strength. That's something that if you've played those systems, you know. Now like the resistances and avoiding combat, I'm not sure about because I haven't played enough of those. Like I haven't played enough of those systems in combat to really know what they do. Got knowledge skills, but I guess you just base your. There's no classes, so you just build your character out of skills. And this quick start is this preview is very simple. So they give you 50 points to spend in each slot except for practical skills, which get 75. Okay. Not too bad. You have to do something special to start with magic drawing characters. I see. Yes, it's basically just a new version of RuneQuest. Except not RuneQuest, it's OpenQuest, my bad. OpenQuest, which is a redo of Legend, which is a redo of RuneQuest. And I gotta assume that it doesn't use Glorantha at all. Because that's not an open source thing. I'm sorry if I'm going through this too quickly. I'm trying to get my head around what it does, but it looks very similar to versions of Legend that I've seen in the past. It does look a little bit easier to understand at first glance. Like just the quickest of glances is telling me more about this system than a couple hours of reading the old Legend role-playing game book did in the past. OpenQuest skill and magic systems are open, both at character generation and during character advancement. Because they start more rounded, there's less of an issue about getting the right mix of skills for a group so it can survive the adventure. So that is one benefit of having classless systems, is that if the players can't work out a balanced group on their own, that's more their fault than yours. Because between all of this, somebody should have certain skills. So they should talk about what their characters want to be. So we've got some basic templates for ideas. Alright, do we have any... oh, there's a leveling up system. Of course, because role-playing games have those. Duh. Players may spend improvement points in the downtime between quests when their characters who are badly injured are healing. The default downtime period is 3 months. So yeah, they tend towards that really old, like, literary, slow plotting style of plot. Instead of the modern systems, which I've had adventures complete in like a couple of months, where characters get to level 20 in just a couple months. Alright. So yeah, that is OpenQuest 3rd edition. It looks cleaner than Legend. Like, I'm understanding it better than Legend. It's from D101 Games. I put a link to their quick starter. If you want to check out the actual preview, I'll post it here. Here's the link for that. And that brings me to the end of the stream tonight. That's all I had prepared. Again, I will do this again in 3 or 4 weeks when I get another group of things to look at. Yeah, a lot of OSR stuff tonight. A weird doubling of like Paleolithic role-playing games. Pariah is still my pick. I liked For Her Elegance just for the concept of it. And I liked the art in Bones and Precious Stones. Aside from that, kind of a weak week this week. I say that 3 times fast. Yeah, kind of a weak selection this week. But, hey, I take what I can get, you know? Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up here. Thanks for watching. I'm going to work on my Castles and Crusades review. It's not going to be up for next week. I can tell you that right now. I have no idea when it's going to be. It may be at the week after. I will say that I've already recorded all the way into Act 2 of Neverwinter Nights 2. My patrons will have early access to that. Let's Play. I will be posting the links for that tonight on the Patreon site for what's not up yet. And I have started posting Temple of Elemental Evil Let's Play on my second channel. I will be recording more of that in the coming days. And that's already like got a month worth of Let's Plays like already pre-queued. I'll be releasing 3 of those a week on that secondary channel. And I will be starting, I think, Age of Decadence on the second channel as well, but I'm not going to get to that for another week to a week and a half. Because I'm not going to be able to record it until, like, I want to say Sunday night or Monday at best. So, if you've ever been curious about those, I've got those on there. I'll try to get some more tabletop stuff up. I know a lot of people watch my channel for the tabletop stuff. It's harder to pin down than the others. And let me know in the chat, but mostly in the comments. Let me know, especially since I know a lot of people watch this that aren't watching it streamed. Let me know if you'd like to see some of my some of the other stuff I run D&D for. Not Tomb of Annihilation though. I've got some recordings of some of my patron games, and I've got the recordings of my OSR old school style 5th edition campaign that I'm running for my Tuesday game now. So let me know in the comments. I'm gonna head out. Thank you for watching. Until next time, take care and goodbye.